Hey, good morning, sewing friends. So today I want to come to you talk about coats because I know a lot of people are really into sewing coats right now. The quiet luxury, the oversized coats. So the last time the really big oversized coats were in was the 1990s, 80s and 90s, and all of us had big coats. So I want to talk a little bit today about two easy patterns. One is slightly easier than the other to make a coat. So if you've never made a coat before, these are beginner-friendly coats, and there's a couple of reasons why they're beginner-friendly coats. So the first one I want to talk about today is not this one in the dress form. We'll talk about that second. I want to talk about the Cambria dusters. So for those of you who are not familiar, this is a Friday Pattern Company pattern. I have two versions of this. I'm going to show you both. This was my first one. So Friday Pattern Company has an unlined duster coat that has slit sides here. It is unlined. It has lovely pockets right here. Nice big deep pockets. It has a captured tie belt, which I will forever make into all of my coats no matter what they are, including the one I'm going to show you next. That's why I'm showing you this one first. So the tie is actually tied in here so that when you put the coat on, you can either tie it in the front or tie it in the back. Now, the Cambria is really designed as a lightweight coat. So if you were in a more moderate or mild climate, you can make this in like a boiled wool and it would be wonderful. But I'm just going to show this to you. This is a lightweight cotton that I tested in the first time, and I used a contrast color because I didn't have enough fabric. So you can see that the ties are captured, so they either go in front, or if you want an open duster look, they go in back, and then you can keep the coat open. It's got a really nice statement kind of portrait-y collar here. Again, you've got the nice pockets. It's a really good shape for a nice coat. It is, however, unlined. So they give lots of finishing instructions for the stuff on the inside, but because it's unlined, for those of you who live in a climate like I do in the upper Great Lakes, it's going to be a little chilly in the winter. So this is a spring coat for me, like a very light spring coat for me. So I also have this one in linen, and I'll show you the difference between these two. It does have a fold-up cuff, but these are not meant to be full-length cuffs. This is like more like a 3/4. But on this version that I made it longer than the pattern called for, just simply by extending it all the way down, right? And I made this one in a slightly heavier weight linen, which I think is more of kind of like a spring coat for me. And I also made it in a color that I think is important, that is not bathrobe color. So do not make this in a pale pink, unless you're really using a fabric like wool or boucle or some sort of texture that really lends itself like not too fuzzy, because if you make this in a fuzzy pink fabric, you're going to look like you're wearing your bathrobe. Now, when I first bought this pattern, it was during the pandemic, and my local fabric store owners said, this is a socially acceptable bathrobe. And I concur. It feels like a robe. It's got a beautiful open portrait collar. It's robe-like. It's cozy and comfortable. And as you can see, I extended the sleeves way down so I could have the turn-up cuffs, but still have a full-length sleeve. Now, this coat, obviously in a linen, doesn't look like a bathrobe. I mean, I could wear it as a bathrobe, but it doesn't really look like a bathrobe. And I strongly recommend that like I said, when you make this, think about making it in something that's not going to look like a bathrobe. A cream-colored boiled wool would give you some really great Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex vibes, because she wore a coat very similar to this a number of years ago. But it's a very, very elegant coat. And as you can see, side slits for walking, like that. And it's a great coat. So this is the Cambria duster, and I've been showing you this up in the corner so you can see the details. Now, the next piece I'm going to show you after I grab a cup of coffee here, because it's cold out and my throat is acting a little weird. So the next coat I want to show you is the Christine Johnson Patterns Easy Coat. The reason I want to show you this is the knee-length version, by the way. The reason I want to show you this is because this is an easy winter coat that is lined, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So this is a slightly oversized, not dramatically oversized coat. I made a small, I think, in this. I don't even think this one fits me right now, but so that's why I have it on the dress form. But I made this in denim, and I lined it in cotton fabric that I used to have as my curtains in my my second apartment post-college. So those used to be curtains, and then they were transformed in this jacket, and they've been in here ever since, which has probably been at least 15 years they've been in here, maybe more. But the thing I love about the Easy Coat is that it has this convertible collar. So you can either button the collar all the way up, comes right up here to the neck like this, or you can open the collar and have an open collar coat if that's the style you want to wear. So it's very, very versatile. In addition, it has patch pockets, deep, big patch pockets, and patch pockets are easy. So there's not going to be any welt pockets or difficulty. It's a very simple construction. It comes lined or unlined, and that's important because if you want to make a coat that's suitable for winter in a climate like mine, you're going to use a heavier weight wool, and you're probably going to use a lining, either a flannel back satin, which would be my first choice, or even a quilted satin, which would be also a really good choice if you have the right combination. That would make a very heavy coat that you could wear really any time of the year. Now this is the knee-length version. It comes in a longer version as well. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get this on, but we're going to try. It comes in a longer version as well that's a mid-calf, so it's definitely a coat that you would wear and super on trend right now. I've got some coating fabric that I inherited from someone else's stash. As I told you, I have someone else's stashes. I inherited it from someone else's stash, and I plan to make another coat out of it. So like I said, this one I don't think is going to fit. I think it's going to be too small in the bust. I can already see that. Yes, it's definitely too small in the bust. But you'll get a little bit of the idea of the fit of the coat. And again, this has a full traditional belt in the back like you would see. So if you want a coat with a full traditional belt. But honestly, I probably would cut this in half and I would trim a little off the ends and I would sew it into the side seam just like the Cambria. Because honestly, you're either going to take the coat and go like this in the front, or you're going to be leaving it open and you want to tie it up in the back so the ties don't drag on the ground. And why not just tie that in, right into the side seam? So you can see here this one's a little small for me, but again, I made it a number of years ago. I'll just step forward so you can kind of see. So this one is a little small, but you can see the shape of the coat. Now, if you make it unlined, you can kind of see here, it looks a little bit like there's a princess seam where the lining is, but on the unlined version, you actually stitch this facing down. And that's one of the reasons why I love Christine Johnson patterns, because her finishing techniques are really, really awesome. By the way, I floated the sleeve lining on the inside here, so it's not attached, so it floats a little bit better on the inside, but I gotta stick it down in there sometimes. It has a nice options. I did an extra cuff on here to make this a little bit longer. So I just added a rectangle band and I made it a little longer and I overlapped it to create this cuff. So when you fold it up, it creates a little opening just like that. So this was a little short on me, so it's denim shrank. So I put that on there like that. So that's how I did the cuffs. But you can see that this is a really awesome coat that has a lot of really great details. Full lining, instructions for it, including the pleat in the back up here for a little bit of extra room. So definitely a coat to make when you're new to making coats or you want a project that's not difficult. It's called the Easy Coat for a reason. And frankly, it's the coat of choice. I almost wouldn't even consider making another kind of coat because it is really just such a great coat. So I want to talk a little bit, because I know I talk a lot about a variety of designers who are not necessarily releasing a lot of new patterns, and I want to talk a little bit about that for one sec. So I've known Christine for a very long time. She has now moved up north in Michigan where she's living. So she sold her studio down in Hazel Park and she's living up north. She brought her stock of stuff up there so she could just sell it and continue the business from up there. But she's spending a lot of her time now designing jewelry and designing other things in her retirement. And I also have another designer that I recommend a lot, Trudy from Hot Patterns. Trudy also is in retirement, although she's releasing some designs that she's had for a while that haven't been in print, and she has an Etsy store. Now, why am I recommending designers who aren't designing anymore? Because these designers come from an era where sewing patterns really were better designed. They come from an era where there wasn't the proliferation of inexpensive software that makes anybody a designer. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. There's a lot of wonderful, young, talented designers out there right now, and I buy a lot of their patterns, believe me. But there also are some designers who got into it without a lot of really technical pattern making skills. Trudy and Christine in particular are two designers that have exceptional pattern making skills. So when I recommend a pattern to you, it's because it is exceptionally well designed and tested. And I think it's worthy of your time. It's also probably got a better fit. Now, Trudy tends to skew a little bit bigger on the ready-to-wear size. So if you're a plus or a curvy, you're definitely going to find a home there because she designs for a block that's a bigger block. Christine designs for a block that's a C cup, a B and C cup for someone who's quite a bit taller. Christine herself is quite tall. And so she designs on a slightly different block, but her sizing also goes up fairly high as well. So this coat is designed exceptionally well. It's a good fit for a coat. It's got nice details, including this high collar, as I mentioned, or the fold open collar. It's an easy coat to make with nice deep patch pockets. It's got a lining. It's well worth your time to make. So that's my take on a couple of coats. I have made both of these, and I generally tend to recommend sewing patterns that I have actually personally sewed. And there's a lot of YouTubers out there who will pick a pattern and say, hey, I haven't made this, but I think this would be a really nice pattern, or it looks like that. I'm generally going to show you, almost without exception, patterns that I have personally sewn and worn that I really like. And there's a reason for that, because I think you need to know if a pattern's really good. Like if somebody made it and they said, you know what, things went together well, and I think it's worthy of your time. This is worthy of your time. I have some beautiful dark aubergine purple coating that came from someone else's stash. I also have flannel back satin, which is one of my choices for linings for this coat. I also have black flannel back satin, and that's going to become a new easy coat in my current size. Now, I also sew for my current size. I know we talk about this all the time. Yes, I am losing a little bit of weight. Yes, I would like to lose 20 pounds. Why am I sewing things for the size I am now? Because I believe if you accept where you are right now and you're happy with who you are right now, you just have a better outlook on life. You're going to have clothing that ranges a whole bunch of sizes. And whether you do this on a monthly basis, whether you do this on an annual basis, swap out your closet, however it is, you're going to have clothes that span a lot of different sizes. And if your wardrobe is reasonably classic, these things are going to come back again and again and again. I have lived through trends at least 2 times, sometimes 3 times now in my life, and I kind of wish I'd saved some of those things. Like the oversized boyfriend blazer with bigger shoulder pads right now. Hello, made those, wore those, had a lot of those in the 1980s and early 1990s. Got rid of most of them. So fortunately, my mom didn't get rid of hers, so she passed on a whole bunch, which happened to also be in a size 10 and 12, which is perfect because now they're oversized on me at the size I am now, which is great. So, but I'm just telling you, trends are going to come and go. So make a classic wardrobe like this easy coat, which was probably designed in the early 2000s. Make this easy coat. It's going to last you decades. You will have a nice, warm, stylish winter coat that everybody's wearing right now. The trend is to wear these big oversized coats. You're gonna have a nice warm coat that you will be able to wear for decades. Make it in a camel wool. Make it in a colorful wool if that's your style. Christine had a sample, which I don't have anymore, but Christine had a sample in gray wool. It was much too big for me. It was very long, and I think it was a large or an extra large. And we put it on a model who was a large or extra large. And that's on my blog post at sewparadise.com. You can see a picture of that. And I took pictures of Sherry in that coat, and it is fabulous. It is just a fabulous coat. She has a big white scarf on. It's just a beautiful, beautiful coat. So don't discount some of the sewing pattern designers that I do recommend. They all have stores that are in action. It's not that they've stopped being in business. They're just not designing a lot of new patterns right now, or maybe, again, they're just not designing a new one because their lives have changed and they've gone in a different direction and they're passing the torch to younger designers. But their stuff is still really good, worthy of your time, and they still support it. That's even better. If you send an email to Christine or Trudy today, they would both reply. So if you have any questions about it, you can let me know. Now, affiliations. I did work with Christine Johnson for 4 years. I did her marketing videos and things like that, to the extent that people really became to know her brand associated with me, which is absolutely wonderful. But I am not a sewing pattern designer. I am simply a marketer and a web developer. So there you go, and an avid sewist. So like you, I want to make quality projects that work. Cambria Duster, Christine Johnson Easy Coat, Both are well worth your time. The Cambria is going to be more of a lighter weight coat. Those of you in the South who want to maybe make it in a boiled wool and wear it when it goes to, like, 55 degrees. Those of you up north, you can either make this Christine Johnson jacket in an unlined version or a lightweight version like I have here in denim, or you can make this in a heavy version and make it in a lined and with quilted lining. I've put some resources on all of these things in my blog at sewparadise.com. So that's it. That's my take on winter coats. Well, spring coats too. Go ahead and make yourself a coat. You are absolutely going to love it. It is incredibly satisfying. It was one of the most satisfying projects I had ever first endeavored, because I had never actually made a coat before and I always wanted one. This was my first foray. I love making coats because they look a little bit like blazers. They've got that kind of blazer sort of feel, but they're not terribly complex and they're oversized, so the fit's generally pretty easy. That's my take on coats.